Let's go ahead and get started then. Welcome everyone to the SZ4D Public Forum on activities. This forum is an opportunity for us to share some updates on our activities, discuss upcoming opportunities. This forum is also an opportunity to hear from you. So feel free to use the Q&A feature to ask your questions, and we will get to them after the presentation. Now, let me introduce the team who is presenting with me today. I'm here with Melodie French from Rice University and Madison Myers from Montana State University. Melodie is a co-chair of the Operational Planning Committee for Activities, and Madison is co-chair of the Magmatic Drivers of Eruption Working Group. Thank you both for joining, and thank you very much for your time. And I am Anaïs. I am the SZ4D Managing Director, and very happy to be with you here today. Okay, so together we'll guide you through today's presentation. And I should just remember to move, voila. Today's presentation, which is organized in 3 parts. We will have funded activities, part 1, then part 2 will be presenting some updates on proposals, and then the last part will be focusing on resources and engagement opportunities for the community. And before we get started, I also want to acknowledge the many voices and perspectives that who are behind today's forum. Some of them were able to join us and will be able to answer some questions that you might have. And you can always reach out to committee members through our email, contact@sz4d.org. And with that, I want to say, let's get started. And Madison, you have the floor.
All right, thank you, Anaïs. All right, so a quick recap. What is SZ4D for those of you that this might be your first time kind of tuning in? SZ4D is a grassroots community-driven initiative for a long-term interdisciplinary research program to understand the limits and possibilities of predicting geohazards. And so there's multiple kind of activities and planning in progress, several things that are currently funded by NSF, and of course we'll get more into that today. Next slide. All right, so what is the funding allowing us to do at the moment? Well, our first kind of catalyst to this whole process was the Catalyst Grant from EAR. And then the second kind of addition was SENet through ExcelNet. These things were together allowing us to support staff. Of course, this is a huge initiative involving hundreds of people around the world. So we need people to organize us and keep us on track. So that includes our very own Anaïs, Dana White, and Juliet's Sue. So I don't actually know how to say Juliet's last name. This is to help us build an international subduction zone community through webinars, workshops, and town halls. There's a technical project management to realistically address the costs and trade-offs of the instrumentation options that are being proposed in SZ4D, as well as do preparatory work for the geologic modeling and laboratory facilities, which also include workshops in engineering design. Next slide. All right, so now I'm just going to go over some of the funded activities, the exciting opportunities that are currently ongoing. So next. So what's funded? One of the big projects that SZ4D has been working on in the last year is something called SENet. It is a coordinated global effort to understand subduction geohazards, which you can see is involving a quite extensive network of communities around mostly the Ring of Fire, but also a little bit in Europe. The objective is to foster international collaborations and communication between active science networks studying geoscience, subduction zone geohazards. Next slide. So SENet, as it is this global effort, the goals really are to compare observations of subduction zones around the globe with a common data set and understanding, to cooperate the consistency instrument critical subduction zones that can provide key and transferable insights, as well as to develop and nurture an international and diverse cadre of early career scientists equipped to make these necessary breakthroughs. So these are really the 3 missions fueling SENet. Next slide. So these activities are a multitude. We have a lot going on in SCNet. It's really exciting to see everything that's happening. This includes a lot of workshops, both virtual and in person, webinars, data exchanges, field trips, pilot projects, and an exchange program. And we're going to go a little bit into detail on all of these topics. So what's funded? The first one that we wanted to go over was one that I was very privileged to be a part of, which was an SCNet field trip. This took place this past summer in Ashland, Oregon. It was a 9-day field trip exploring a Jurassic Pluton in the Southern Cascadia subduction zone. Not only was it a field trip, though, we also did a lot of data collection as we were trying to practice different strategies for collecting data in large interdisciplinary groups. 14 applicants were selected out of 124 that applied. This included 9 nationalities with a wide range of disciplines and careers. And the goal of this interdisciplinary team was to do petrologic sample collection, geochemical analysis, as well as a nodal geophysical deployment in order to try to answer a question that the whole group developed. Next slide. So what's funded? The outcome of this is the group field effort and collaborative aspect of the trip was very well received. 2 abstracts were submitted to AGU, one on the science behind the nodal array and the geology that we were seeing, as well as the social science aspect. So how do we facilitate working in these teams? So if you're going to AGU, I'd encourage you to check out both of these. In addition, there was a poster presented at an international joint workshop on slow to fast earthquakes in Japan. The participants and leaders are meeting regularly to discuss the next steps in an ongoing collaboration opportunities. And so you can read more about the field trip, and I would highly encourage you to, because there's some fun gems of figures in this, in the postcards from the field. So you can check that out on our website. The exciting news is this is going to continue happening. So our second edition is happening in Chile this upcoming January. The application is currently closed, however, but the cohort selection is ongoing more soon. The idea behind this second edition is an interdisciplinary and international field trip crossing Chile from Cordillera to coast to receive a comprehensive introduction to the Chilean geology. It's going to be the intersection of magmatism, tectonism, and mass mobilization in central Chile. So this is, again, not the end. There's also going to be additional pilot projects in the US and Chile moving forward. In addition to these fun exchanges involving field trips and data analysis, we also have this amazing exchange program. This is a month-long research opportunity for US and Chilean-based students, early career researchers, to exchange with labs, observatories, field sites, or scientific institution in the partner country. The first edition was a huge success where we had 58 applicants, oopsies. I think the slide PowerPoint went away, Anaïs. There were 58 people that applied, and I think 5 got to participate in this event. Yep, 3 were from Chile and 2 were from the United States. So the first edition was completed and all of these folks got to essentially exchange, and the second one is under review. The applications were actually due yesterday. You can see that there are a lot of people that are very excited about this, so you can not only apply to be a host, but you could also encourage those early career researchers that you know to apply to be part of the exchange program. So if you want to learn more about it, the different research projects, you can visit the website. We also had virtual workshops. So one was in May of 2024 on rheology and stress. This included keynote talks, plenary and discussion sessions scheduled over a few days to accommodate the busy schedules and diverse time zones of this wide community. And then the next one was in October of 2024, which was an SC Time Series Legacy Data Shop. And so, of course, there were different goals for both of these, but it really emphasizes that we are able to facilitate a diverse range of topics as well as scientists to go over things that are important to a large set of people in our community. So rheology and stress, for instance, talked about how the rheology of subduction zone materials influence the partitioning of stress and strain and how this controls the natures of hazards across the subduction zone. whereas the time series legacy data was interested in discussing with an international community what unarchived data could be open access to help to identify common barriers to data archiving and what that would facilitate by making this more available. Next slide. In addition, there's an international webinar series. Some of you may have already tuned into some of these. I think even a few of our speakers here are on the call today. This was a range of topics relevant to subduction zone geohazards from international scientists. These are quite exciting, and there's more coming up. So if you're interested not only in participating, please essentially check out our website to register for these webinars. Or if you would like to be the next speaker, you could suggest a topic. We also are having some in-person workshops. So the first edition of this is going to take place in Santiago, Chile, this upcoming January. The workshop is an SCNet Ocean Floor Observational Technology Workshop, organized in conjunction with the Slow to Fast Earthquake Workshop. This is a nice example of how we were able to actually couple workshops based on the SCNet community of recognizing what people are interested in working on in the community. The objective is to develop a global knowledge based on technical capabilities and opportunities in C4 geodesy and seismology. 100 participants are attending this, 25% receiving travel support, and they're from around the globe. So more details can be found on the website, and you can also suggest topics for our next workshop. So you can see there's a lot of opportunities to get involved in suggesting either topics or speakers or ideas. And now I'm going to hand it over to Melodie, who's going to go over some proposal updates.
Thanks, Madison. I'm here today to update you and to let you know about proposals, SZ4D proposals, in addition to the Catalyst proposal and the SCNet proposal that Madison just updated you on. So these will be our funded proposals, our pending proposals, and just like all scientists, our declined proposals. But starting with what's funded. So there's the recently funded project through NSF RISE. So that's Research, Innovation, Synergies, and Education. That is essentially a collaboration between our GeoArray and StraboSpot. So the title of this proposal was Developing Cyber Infrastructure-Enabled Collaborative Workflows to Integrate Data for the SZ4D Community. GeoArray is the community of field geologists within SZ4D, if you're not familiar. And StraboSpot provides cyber infrastructure for the collection and visualization and storage of geologic field data. So this collaborative project will expand StraboSpot current capabilities to enable research group collaborative projects in the field. And so the PIs here are for a combination of StraboSpot affiliated folks and SZ4D folks. Next slide. The next funded proposal went in through NSF CSSI, or Cyber Infrastructure for Sustained Scientific Innovation. So this project went in through the Modeling Collaboratory, and the title is Collaborative Research Frameworks in Coupling Bulk and Surface Processes and Simulating the Solar Earth with Aspect and Land Lab. And so the goal of this project is to couple open source software packages Land Lab, which is an environment that models surface processes, with Aspect, which models mantle dynamics. And so the goal is to couple mantle deformation to surface processes, and PIs are listed below. And this project should kick off, it's been funded, should kick off soon. Next slide. GeoArray has also funded a geoscience education project. The PI of this is Sammy Narco and colleagues. And so here the goal is to collect and analyze data to demonstrate how interdisciplinary field-based communities of practice develop during fieldwork. And then to identify those collaborative, social, and situated learning practices that promote this collaborative research. And so this went in into the NSF education program. Next slide. Okay, so what's pending? Proposals that are still pending. So one of the big undertakings of SZ4D in the past year was to develop and submit our Geohazard Center Track 2 proposal. And so the title of this is Interconnected Hazards in Context. So we underwent a pretty lengthy and rigorous process to develop and submit this proposal. It was finally submitted in March of 2024. It's a 5-year proposal. So we identified the cross-cutting themes in the implementation plan, and then discussed these at a leadership meeting, which went into developing white papers for what this center should contain in content. We got feedback from all of the SZ4D committees, and then drafted a plan architecture. And then the writing team drafted a proposal, and we sent it out for review amongst our colleagues in the community, and then sent it also to SZ4D committees, and then revised and finally submitted. So next slide. So there are 6 coordinated activities within this proposal listed on the screen from MA1 to MA6. And they all share, and they all are part of shared goals, but the activities include data assembly and assimilation. So this is how do we utilize the data that is, and assemble the data that is already collected and available to us. There are field-based activities associated with GeoArray. One major activity of the proposal is studying the flow and failure of the Earth. So this is rheology. And then using these to understand how hazards interact. Our major activities 5 and 6 are a strong focus of our broader impact. So that's workforce development and community engagement. And so these 6 activities together will be used to develop a system level understanding of how different geohazards and multiple geohazards interact over a range of temporal and spatial scales. And so the goal is to be able to deliver physically founded geohazard forecasts and enable significant advancements in the science of forecasting. And so by studying the interactions between different hazards, we will both be able to understand things like cascading hazards, but then also dig into the underlying physics that drives each hazard. And then finally, a big goal of the center proposal is to diversify and expand the geoscience workforce. Next slide. So in addition to these 6 activities, then community engagement would be sought through 28 seed grants that are in the range of $30,000 to $35,000 in order to engage the broader geoscience community. Next slide. So the center proposal is truly a team effort. The proposal has a PI and 4 co-PIs, personnel. PIs and senior personnel are listed here. Overall, in total, there are 25 senior personnel who are part of the funded proposals from universities across the U.S., including folks with research in objectives in Cascadia and Alaska. And these people will be responsible for coordinating the major activities of the proposal. There are also 22 collaborators, including for each major activity that I listed, the 6 major activities, a Chilean and a USGS liaison. And so this proposal will include recruitment of grad students and postdocs who will work under the supervision of these senior personnel. And will also fund the staff who will help, staff and director who will help oversee the implementation of these activities and goals. Next slide. So in terms of a timeline, the anticipated or hopeful kickoff would be in 2025 with an in-person summit. We would also have, in terms of major anticipated milestones in this proposal, we anticipate GeoArray field deployments starting in 2026 and then continuing into 2027. We would have the launch of a data hub that would provide access to assimilated and collected data across a range of fields. We have additional in-person summits in 2027, in-person summit in 2027, and also the release of system scale numerical models. Throughout this entire process, we anticipate experimental work in rheology or flow and failure that will end somewhere in 2029, year 4. And then also the release of some empirical forecasting models. And we'd conclude with both another in-person summit for the community and for community engagement, and then also the establishment of this final outreach project, which stands for Science to Broader Impacts Matchmaking Resource. And so this is an initiative for sustained community engagement based on the findings, the learnings, and the modeling, empirical forecasting modeling of this project. Next slide. Okay, so moving on to other pending proposals, we also have a pending proposal for the SZ4D multi-array. So this is instrumentation deployment array. We plan to submit as an MSRI, but part of that is a design proposal that, so this particular grant, it was submitted, or proposal was submitted through NSF MG&G in 2024. With the goal of using models to optimize potential instrumentation deployment. So this is to design potential instrumentation deployment. So this is still pending, and the personnel and activities or work that would be conducted under this proposal are listed, and is everything from designing seismic detection capabilities to hydrologic sediment transport models. Next slide. And finally, what's been declined, so you all may have been part of or heard about other proposals that have gone in through SZ4D, and so just to update you on their status, then there have been 2 proposals to go in, a pre-proposal and then a regular proposal to go in for long-term deformation experiments. This proposal was declined last spring by NSF. And then another proposal that's gone in and was declined was an NSF geoinformatics proposal for a rheology toolbox. And so the goal of this proposal was to develop a community toolbox for rheologic modeling of subduction zones. And this proposal will be resubmitted based on review or feedback next month. And so the goal of the rheology toolbox is essentially to provide a community, an interdisciplinary means or tool for rheologic modeling of hazards and subduction zones. And so what this toolbox will do, will synthesize information from a rheology database based on user inputs like the desired geologic parameters, rheologic model, or output format will then provide things like effective viscosity, stress, strain rate, or partial derivatives required for modeling. Okay, next slide.
Right. So in this section, I'll be highlighting our initiatives designed to foster collaboration, build scientific connections, and amplify the work that is being done across the SZ4D community. So these initiatives and the resources are key to strengthening our network and supporting the scientists who are driving subduction zone research forward. So let's take a look. First, and I'm very happy to do this today. This is our launch of the SZ4D Scientist Matchmaking Survey. It's been in the work for quite some time now. This matchmaking survey is designed to facilitate scientific collaboration by creating a searchable database of scientists across career stages and expertise who are engaged in subduction zone research. When you fill out the survey, which shouldn't take you more than 10 minutes, you will gain access to this platform, and it will make it easy for you to connect with potential collaborators, mentors, mentees, or peers from across the globe and across a range of fields and expertise. So for more details, please visit the link that I will be sharing in a moment in the chat. Just a note that this database will only be available to those who complete the survey. So I encourage you to take the survey today. And we also count, as of today, we have 20 free users. So feel free to use that survey today. Next slide. And I would like to just talk a couple of minutes about this project that is in the work, which is our SZ4D Science Hub. It's a platform that is designed to amplify your science and create synergies within the community. So the hub is in development right now, and we are planning to launch it at the AGU. It's open for feedback, so please contact us if you have any, or feel free to ask your question. Use the Q&A feature to ask your questions. The Science Hub, as I said, is designed to put your science at the forefront. It will showcase science highlights or nuggets, which will be centered on SZ4D related research. It'd be a space where you can connect with your peers, share your work, and potentially inspire collaboration. Submissions will always be welcome at any time, and we'll be picking a few to be featured in our quarterly e-newsletter Convergence. So we're very excited about this initiative, and we're very excited to see this hub grow and become a dynamic resource for all of us. If you'd like to participate and submit a science nugget, please send us an email, and we would love to hear from you. Moving on, I would like to take a couple of minutes to discuss SZ4Grads, which is a network specifically designed for graduate students and recent graduates focused on subjects on science. SZ4D is directly supporting this group, and which has 3 objectives. First, coordinate collaboration among early career scientists working on subjects on science. The group also wants to enhance accessibility to SZ4D activities and create mentorship and skill development opportunities. SZ4Grad hosts networking events at major conferences and national and international. For those attending AGU, and I'll be coming back to AGU in a moment, don't miss their networking lunch on Thursday, which will be a great chance to connect with your fellow researchers. And we also have some mentors in the room. The registration deadline to attend the lunch is coming up. It's November 20, so visit our website if you'd like to register or if you would like more details. SZ4Grad is also organizing a webinar series. We have the bilingual webinar series currently ongoing. Some of you might have been attending the past webinars. The next one is on November 27. Renato will be from Universidad Católica del Norte, will be providing his presentation in Spanish, but for those whose Spanish is not that, good, we will have translated captions. And a little announcement for SZ4Grads. They are in the process of rotating their executive committee membership. There must be, I believe, a few SZ4Grads members in the audience, so feel free to ask your questions if you are interested in joining the group. All right, and as we wrap up the forum, I would like to highlight a few upcoming activities at the AGU full meeting this December. There will be a great opportunity to connect with SZ4D committee members, and we'll be providing also opportunities for you to share your science and explore ways to be involved. And first, we have on the Sunday before the AGU full meeting week, a mini workshop focusing on the experimental petrology community to advance research and community initiatives with SZ4D, with the objective to bring together experimental petrologists and to foster community collaboration to explore subduction zone processes from the slab to the surface. Registration deadline is November 20, so please visit our website if you would like to attend. We provide a space from Sunday through Thursday for your research group needs. Our headquarters are located a couple blocks from the convention center. So if you are interested in reserving our space, please send me an email, send us an email. I'll be happy to share with you the link to our booking platform. We've also curated a collections of presentations of interest to the community to help you navigate AGU. So if you would like to have your presentation featured in our collection of presentations, please feel free to send us an email as well. On the Sunday evening before AGU, we are organizing our very first SZ4D icebreaker, and it will be a very lively networking event designed to spark conversations and help you connect with peers. We'll have a poster bingo. We will have some limited edition swag, and we'll be providing appetizers and more. Anyway, it will be a great way to kick off AGU week. Come connect with your peers, meet who are the SZ4D committee members. I would love to see you. I love sending email to the community, but I really enjoy seeing the faces of those I'm sending emails. So please mark your calendars and plan to join us on Sunday evening. And we also have part of AGU program, our town hall on Wednesday at 6 p.m. We will be moving away from the passive format of having our audience sitting in a room, listening to a presentation. This time, this full hour will be dedicated in group discussions. We will have each corner of the room focusing on one of our major topics, from the MSRI infrastructure part to our community of practice, who are developing projects to support minority populations and undergrad students, and sense of belonging surveys. We will have also our chance to launch our science hub and provide a chance to our audience to present a lightning talk. So if you are interested again in participating, please send us an email and we'll put you on the list. And before giving you the platform to ask your question, I just wanted to remind you that the best way to stay tuned about all of these activities is to subscribe to our listserv if you're not already. Read the e-newsletter that we distribute every quarter. All the information that we have shared today is available on our website. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is our YouTube channel becomes an incredibly resource for our community, with all recordings from all our virtual workshops. We talked about the Subduction Zone Time Series legacy data, all the short talks, all the keynote talks, all the international webinar series, all the SZ4 grads webinars are collected on our YouTube channel. So feel free to subscribe. You will receive automatic notifications every time we add new content. Participate in our community events. Register, apply to our activities, and please share your feedback. And that being said, I'm very happy to open the floor to questions and comments. And also thanks Melodie and Madison for your time and presenting today. Thank you very much. Right, let's see if we have any questions in the chat.
There's lots of good links in the chat. If people have questions, they can either raise their hand or they could add them to the chat and we can read them out, whichever you'd prefer.
Madison, could you post the links to your 2 AGU abstracts?
All right, I'll do mine. Sammy, you do yours, and then
And all of those abstracts and presentations are also compiled on our sessions and presentations of interest. I will be sharing the link in a moment in the chat. And I remember I promised you a link to our scientist matchmaking survey. I forgot to mention that while the survey is only in English, we have both Spanish and English version for if you need more detail. Here is the link, and then I'll give you the platform to the presentations of interest at AGU in a second. Give me a sec. Here is the platform. Huh? Sammy, I see that you're here. Would you like to provide more details about your proposal, maybe?
Yeah, I'm trying to do that. I'm just finding it difficult to navigate the AGU website, but I should have that.
Oh, Sammy, I put the name of it in. It's in those nice link that Anaïs just shared, but I don't know if Anaïs wanted you to share more about the proposal that you got funded or.
Yeah, that's the question, Sammy, if you would like to discuss more about your proposal.
Yeah. So this funded project is basically a pilot study for us to identify two things. So there is, if you look at the community of practice literature, and then if you look at the field science or geoscience field work literature, there is these competing kind of ideas that people, community of practice develop, while we're doing field work. And then there is, another competing theory that some levels of communities kind of develop, but we don't actually know how, these communities of practice kind of develop during field work. They've all been very theoretical and I would say speculative. So this project is looking at how empirically communities of practice develop among interdisciplinary geoscientists who are kind of doing field work, and then also look at what are these kind of community of practice elements that is helping develop these communities. So for this work, we basically are looking at 4 elements. We are looking at communication, so what kind of communication helps in the development of a community of practice. And just to give you a context, we're looking at this through the novice to expert, kind of spectrum. So we're looking at how novices communicate with experts and how experts communicate with novices during, field work to develop a community. And then we're also looking at coordination, whose ideas is valued, right? And whose ideas is kind of taken during this field work. And we're also looking at leadership. Is there any form of hierarchical kind of leadership, or is it a whole group leadership that is making these novice scientists feel part of the group and also building their leadership skills? And then the last one has to do with mentoring. So what kind of mentoring kind of goes on during this field work? And is it a one-way mentoring where, you just have only the PI mentoring, students? But from our initial data analysis, we've realized that this field trip that we're using as our pilot study had a lot of two-way mentoring where, the novice, I don't want to call them novices. Novice is too much of a stretch, but that's what is used in the community of practice parlance. So yeah, we saw that there is a really huge two-way mentoring where, people that we would expect them to be mentees and just listening are actually mentoring, the mentors within the team. And we have some really cool, interesting data to share at AGU. So I went through to you all to pass by our poster and then see how, communities of practice is developing within SZ4D teams. So yeah, that is the work we're doing now. And the plan is to use this as a blueprint to study more field engagements that SZ4D is going to be involved in.
Thank you, Sammy. Thank you very much. If there are no more, okay, we have a question from Angelo. Angelo is asking a question about the activities in Chile. I want to know if all the activities there are already closed. I am Chilean and I wanted to apply for the field trip, but my area of study is a bit far from the transect, so it was complicated for me to submit a research project proposal for that area. Are all the activities already closed for application? Thank you very much for your question, Angelo. Yes, both applications to participate in the Chile field trip and the exchange program as well are closed. But as we mentioned, there will be more opportunities to engage in those pilot projects coming up in 2025 and 2026. So I would highly recommend you to subscribe to our listserv and stay tuned. We will be announcing on our various communication channels when the application form are open. And I would encourage you to apply. You do not need to be an expert in the specific area to participate in the field trip or the pilot project. So more soon. Thanks for your question. I hope I answered it. All right, so no more questions from Thorsten. Hi, Thorsten. It is my understanding that there were only a few spots for Chilean students to visit groups in the US. What opportunities might be there in the future? This seems like a great way to start some new science. Madison, would you like to take that question?
Yeah, I mean, similar to Angelo's question in that we're doing these exchanges every year as part of the program. So last year there was an application open for a few months, and the idea is that different folks will and maybe we could put the link in of the page of people that advertise, but the idea is that you can, if you are a PI and you have a lab and you would like to host someone, both a Chilean lab or a US lab, you can put that online. And then if you're a student and you're interested in taking advantage of this opportunity, you're first encouraged to look through this list and be like, oh, this lab looks like it would align with my interests. Reach out to that person and then come up with an application that would allow you to have a question that you would benefit from going to that lab, and you submit it. So last year's is closed and this year's closed yesterday. So unfortunately, slightly bad timing there. But then there will be another one next year. So the idea being like next, I'm guessing August or something, September, start looking out again for this call. And, you know, in the meantime, you could look to see who is on this list. Because a lot of times those people are going to reapply next year or be always willing to host someone. So you could reach out and start a collaboration or a conversation soon, like just now, and then put in your application next year for the following summer. Well, US summer. Chilean.
US summer. Yes, correct.
And so I want to just follow up a little bit on that. That might also help to answer the second part of Thorsten's question, which is about the extent of the program as in numbers. So there's one additional option. I don't know, maybe Anaïs or somebody can speak to like SZNet funding, but SZNet is obviously only funded for a certain number of students to support a certain number of student exchanges. One of the things that I think is an option is if you are a PI in the US and you're submitting like an NSF grant with broader impacts, then there's a potential for you to be able to include funding to host an additional student. And then you would just have to you'd want to reach out to SZNet ahead of time to make sure that was consistent with their objectives, but they could still help with the facilitating of the exchange and identifying. So if you can get funding through your broader impacts for your proposal, then you can work with SZNet to actually recruit somebody into your lab. But definitely would want to reach out to SZNet in advance of doing that.
Correct, Madison and Melodie. So I put the slide focusing on our Chilean US exchange program, the first edition. The 2024 cohort, we received 58 applications, and 3 of those, of the 5 who were selected, because that's what the funding situation is about. We only have funding for 5 students. 3 were based in Chile and 2 based in the US. So as you can see, both the exchange program and also our field trips and so all our SZNet activities are oversubscribed. So if you are interested in hosting a student, SZNet, SZ4D, through SZNet can help you with the logistics. Yeah, Magali said may also be able to add this to an existing grant. Thanks, Magali. Any more questions?
Yeah, Anaïs, just a follow-up about the Chile-US exchange program. Now that education, science education research is becoming part and parcel of SZ4D, is there any opportunity to host some of these students within the education research group?
I'm not. So can you say your question again?
Oh yeah, yeah. Now that education research, science education, or subduction zone education research is becoming part of SZ4D, is there an opportunity for this exchange program to host some science education researchers, people interested in this kind of work?
Okay. Yeah. So, Melodie, do you have any thoughts, or Madison, about this?
Whether science education could be part of the exchange?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is the exchanges were written to provide access to lab spaces mostly between different institutions, but I could imagine that knowledge is knowledge, right? So if you like had an idea of a social science, either like system that by which someone could do at your university, for instance, and someone in Chile is like, oh, I'm really interested in learning about how this social science works in the United States as compared to Chile, then that would still be an exchange of knowledge. And as long as you could come up with like a 28-day project of what you would do in that exchange, I don't see why it couldn't count.
That
It
would,
could, yeah.
that would be a perfect bridge, actually. Yeah. Thanks, Sammy.
Thank you. Yeah.
Good idea.
Cool. Ready for that mixer and that swag.
Uh-huh. Should I, I'll keep it for myself. What is the limited edition swag? There might be some glitter.
I have a guess.
Well, I guess if there's no more questions, I would like to thank again Madison and Melodie for your time, and thank you, Sammy, for joining us and providing more info on your project. This session has been recorded and will be posted later today on our YouTube channel. Thank you all so much for joining. It was a pleasure to host that public forum, and I hope to see you at AGU or elsewhere. Thank you all.
Thank you, Anaïs.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Anaïs. That was a lovely set of slides.
Yeah, the slides are much